Hey everybody, George, the Disney Italiano here, coming to you again from the Disneyland Resort. Today we're going to talk about what possible expansions are going to be utilized for the future of the Disneyland Resort with Disneyland Forward. And I'm meeting OG in the parks in a few seconds, but I wanted to stop and start the video here because I'm outside before we hit into security, and behind me is the bus load unload area. And I wanted to mention that because that's basically part of one of the stops that is going to be for earmarked for future uh, DCA expansion. A lot of people are saying Pandora. I don't know. I still don't see it, but I mean, Disney can work its magic. I could possibly see Zootopia going there, but when we get into the park, I'll show you the other part that uh, the bus load unload area would connect to for the expansion. But I just wanted to show you just a piece of it behind me, that all this will become park expansion. So again, will it be Pandora? Will it be Zootopia? Will it be something completely different? We'll just have to wait and find out. And of course, folks, we have the one, the only,
What's up,
Mr.
everybody?
Orange Grove 55.
What's going on?
So I thought we'd kind of start off here in Hollywoodland, which I think out of all the lands thus far is going to be the most interesting when it comes to the future of the DCA, because no matter what, this land is going away completely. But the big question is, what is it going to be? And of course, the talk around the town is it's going to be Pandora, but we've said many times on Orange Grove 55 that I just don't see it. Like,
well, we don't know it's going to be. We don't know for sure it's going to be going away, completely. Yeah.
right.
But I mean, if you really look at this, like look over there, bro. Like the Hyperion, these buildings over here, the animation building, Smoothies, all this back here. There's a lot of room.
That is
I
true.
mean, and all this too. If they were to get rid of Hollywoodland, I mean, like you were saying, like that is a huge amount of property. It doesn't seem like it now because it's it's full of a bunch of sound stages and shit. But I mean, really.
But if you level it out,
yeah, like we come in here, like there is a lot. Like stage 17 right here. This building is massive. And then you have the whole busload behind that.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. And at the beginning of this video, folks, I started the video off at the bus load unload area where it was behind me. And I said there was going to be kind of connective tissue, if you will, for that expansion. Well, this is the backlot area of Hollywoodland. And as OG was saying, beyond the sound stages and behind Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully to the Rescue is that bus load unload area. And that'll give even more prime real estate for the expansion.
Yeah, because see, look, come over here, George, because if you look at this building right here, right, this 17, look how far back, look how deep this building goes. And this is without the busload yet. Look how far back that building goes. All the way, it goes beyond that wooden gate.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of real estate right there.
And then again, as you said, if they take this out and that, you have like all flat land.
So you could fit a Pandora here, because then you have also another big building there. The Hyperion takes up a huge amount of room.
See, my concern is I know it'll fit. I'm just wondering like if it'll fit like coming off. I just don't know if it's going to come off like off of Buena Vista Street and how it would transition well, because you'd have Buena Vista Street and then it moves into Pandora, and then across the way is Avengers Campus.
Right.
So I'm very curious to see aesthetically how that's going to fit into the theme. But we've mentioned many times on Orange Grove 55 that there might be a chance that DCA can still keep the acronym of DCA, but instead of it being California Adventure, it's Cinematic Adventure.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know a lot of people like this ride right here, and it's a cute ride. I mean, it's fun for what it is. They may do after Superstar Limo, but I don't know. It's pretty lackluster.
And I think too, after Florida gets their Monsters Inc. land. And we see what the door vault coaster is going to be. It's the first inverted roller coaster Disney has ever done. I think compared to that, this is going to be very kind of like C- on the spectrum.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. But yeah, there's a lot of room back here. Even if you weren't to include the main Hollywood, like even if you were just to include everything behind this Hollywood studio sign, I mean, there's a good amount of space here. These sound stages go really far back, and then you also have that busload area, like we mentioned, behind all this. So, I mean, they could technically fit it, but like George was saying, I mean, you know, you have an issue with it, like whether coming off of Buena Vista Street or whether coming off of this main Hollywood Boulevard. How does Pandora tie into that?
That's my main question. And then also too, as you can see, we also have the monorail that passes through here.
Right.
How is that going to look aesthetically to Pandora? And Abby mentioned something to me as well when we were watching Magic Journeys. Shout out to Miguel and Janelle. That the
Miguel and Janelle, I like that rhyme.
Yes, and the Five and Dime crew,
yeah.
that drive through here into Buena Vista Street. That I love that kind of like storyline because it fits into like the 1930s and the 1940s. Right. So if this all becomes Pandora, you can't have a Five and Dime car driving through Pandora. But you brought something to my attention. What is considered to be Pandora right now? Would the whole Pandora fit in the backlot area with the bus load unload area minus this?
I think so. Everything behind Hollywood Studios, you'd have the Hollywood and Dime building to your right. You'd have all that behind there, and you have the Muppet building, I guess, or well, no, not the Muppet. Now it's PhilharMagic. And you'd have Stage 17 back there, and the bus load unload area. I think Pandora is only about 10 acres, isn't it?
I think, yeah, it's roughly going to be about around the same, I believe, that Walt Disney World, and that's about like 10, 11 acres.
Yeah, so we did the Google acreage on the channel, and I mean, that pretty much, it technically would fit. It's not so much for me the acreage, because it's here for sure. For me, it's more how it ties into the rest of it.
Exactly.
Another big question mark is what's going to happen with these upcoming Avatar movies. We also don't know what the storylines are. I mean, for all we know, and again, this is just speculation, but for all we know, there is a California connection or something that would tie into all of this somehow. We just don't really know what. It's just hard to speculate when this Pandora is going to be based on what, like 3 Avatar movies?
Yeah.
And we don't even have any information on those movies.
Again, yes, exactly. So, I mean, and the way that they're kind of tying it into these movies, it's almost like they're intertwining it when the movies are released to when this land will be up and ready, operational in the park. Right. So that way the storyline will make sense, because if you release for the construction for Pandora too soon, it's not going to make much sense, because the movies aren't out yet, so we're not going to know what it's going to be.
Right, exactly. So this is interesting. But Hollywood Boulevard, like we said, we don't know for sure if it's going away, but it's very possible. I think it's going away, and also, if not the whole thing, I think it's probably likely that at least some of it is. You know, because you kind of, I mean, one way or the other, it has to be addressed. I mean,
it does.
And look, I got to be honest with you. Bro. This right here,
yes.
This Hyperion,
yes,
is a eyesore, dude. And I've always hated this building. I've always hated it. I know a lot of fans love it, dude, but I will be so happy when that thing goes away. It's a relic of the past.
Yeah, it really is. Honestly, it's, as you said, it's an eyesore. It doesn't make much sense. I get what they were trying to do with it, but to have as a sky backdrop against the actual sky,
right? It's
creating a sight line it's kind of unappealing. Yeah.
If you're gonna make a California painted sky, at least add the smog in there to make it a little more realistic.
Exactly.
You know
yeah. There you go. Kind of have like that kind of blurry, like musky grayish blue.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's very interesting because, again, I guess like no matter what you would put in Hollywoodland, if they get rid of this walking strip,
Yeah.
tying it to Buena Vista Street, they're going to have to try to find a way to connect it. And honestly, as we said it many times, it may just have to be a name change of the park itself.
Well, and the reason why I stopped here is because we do have a little bit of an idea, right? We have Buena Vista Street here, and then behind it we got Grizzly, right?
Right.
Now, so they've managed to kind of tie in that nature thing with Buena Vista Street. But the difference, though, is that Pandora would be much more, well, obviously it's not of this planet.
Right.
So when you have like floating mountains, or we don't have the floating mountains, but even like that giant onion bowl rock thing in the concept art,
right?
How are you gonna how is that gonna look up against this 1930s Los Angeles? So that's what I'm kind of worried about, where it's kind of a weird thing unless you do the cinematic adventure route.
Yeah, that is true,
right?
And there have been talks, you know, as you had mentioned, the upcoming films. And I believe it was our good friend Jack from DSNY Newscast that even mentioned that somewhere in the plot line there may be a connection to not just Earth, but California, Los Angeles. And I think that'd be very telling that if that is the case, then there may not have to be a change really to the connection of Buena Vista Street.
Exactly. Yeah, if they change this park's theme just slightly, just, you know, Disney cinematic adventure, right? You can, in theory, pretty much put anything you want in here. And Buena Vista Street would absolutely make sense because Buena Vista Street is Hollywood, the gateway into all these worlds created by Hollywood.
Exactly.
So it still makes sense as an entrance to the park, I think, if you change that theme to cinematic. I think that's the move. And then also what you could do is you can basically, I mean, you would have carte blanche, like in terms of what you put in here. I mean, you could technically put Villains Land. You could technically put Moana. You can technically put any of it. Now, Villains Land would be perfect because DCA is already known as the Halloween park.
Exactly. And as far as we know, you know, Oogie Boogie Bash is here to stay thus far. Now, it could still change in theme. They may not circle it around Oogie Boogie, but yeah, this is the go-to park for Halloween. So, yeah, if you add villains to this because you have that quote-unquote cinematic adventure, you could add so much more. And not only would you have a around-the-year themed Villains Land, but then the upcharged price for Oogie Boogie would actually be worth it because you could add so much more treat trails, you could add more villains, you could add more activities to do for the event.
Well, and the other thing too, which is one of the reasons why I would be a big proponent of that, if they changed it to Disney Cinematic Adventure, and if they're going to put Villains Land here at the Disneyland Resort, one of the big reasons why I think Villains Land would actually work almost a little better at DCA. What's one of the biggest worries fans have with the Villains Land and Magic Kingdom?
It's not going to be scary enough.
It's not going to be scary enough, right?
It's not going to have that pulse. Sort of.
Yeah, it's not going to be a dark universe, kind of like, you know. So if you put it in DCA, though, it's not a castle park. You have more permission, quote unquote, to sort of do the scary thing because, well, I mean, it's not, you know, a Magic Kingdom. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it could work. But the problem with retheming it to Disney Cinematic Adventure is, this is why I'm coming over here. What do you do with beautiful Grizzly Peak? Because this doesn't have an IP, really. I mean, it has that one little, like, ranger guy.
Yeah, like, that they use for, like, Humphrey the bear.
The bear, yeah. But, like, what...
Well, I'm glad you actually brought that up, and I'm so glad we actually came over here now because, again, aesthetically, I love this part of the park. This is quintessential DCA 1.0 because it really gives the vibe of the state of California, especially the northern parts of California. But it is kind of telling, and it's maybe a little hint is right here with the one, the only, Big Al.
Big Al, Big Daddy Al, there he is. Big Daddy.
And
Get
they
her done.
get her done.
Mr. Country Boy.
And they added him kind of like as like an extra kind of like piece to the land. But we all know that Disney doesn't do things coincidentally. And you know, Country Bear Jamboree used to be over at Disneyland Park, but now that they updated the show over at Walt Disney World, spruced it up, they have the Country Bear singing Disney tunes, which then falls into the category of a Disney IP. And as you were mentioning about adding Villains Land to the potential expansion of DCA, then you have another spot to put a Villains Grove. So
Right.
where
That's where you would put it, and then what happens with this then, right?
exactly. So this locate the Redwood Creek Trail is where they house Villains Grove every Halloween. So, but if you move it over to a potential Villains Land as a park expansion, that frees up all this.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would say kind of clear all this out, put up a show building, and then boom, you have Country Bear Jamboree.
Yeah, you can do a lot with this area. Now, if they do anything with it like that, I hope they keep these beautiful trees. As a Disneylander, I've been coming here since the park opened. The trees have really, really filled in. And I know this is like, I'm kind of digressing into like some nerdy shit, but I really love how big, look how lush. You can ignore the scaffolding. They're working on Grizzly River Run, but like, look how lush it is, George.
It is.
I mean, this is like crazy. I remember when this park was a baby, and these trees were not that big. They were kind of baby trees when the park opened.
Yeah,
it
now look
like
at them.
this.
They're fully grown. Yeah, I agree with you. I would say keep the aesthetics of the real life trees.
Yeah.
I'd even say keep this artificial tree stump right here as part of like the ambiance of like the Country Bear, but then you could add the Country Bear Jamboree Hall.
Absolutely.
That would go in there.
And Country Bears are big. Now, do we know how, if it is the new Country Bears, is that performing well? Is it cycling through a lot of people over there in Florida?
From when Slimer and I went to go see it, because we went around the opening of it, it was fairly popular. And honestly, I haven't heard too many like negative impact on like people going in and out. I mean, I think people are seeing the show. And again, I think for Disneylanders, especially because there's a lot of locals that come to these parks, they were used to having Country Bear Jamboree before Winnie the Pooh moved in. So I think it would be very refreshing and kind of cool to go full circle on that, to bring Country Bears back to the Disneyland Resort.
Oh, I would love to bring them back. Okay, now here is interesting right here. This is what we've been saying. Look at how they have Nick and Judy. Right? Nick and Judy here at DCA. They've been beta testing these characters in this park for a very long time. Now, it's not a coincidence when Disney puts the like characters or meet and greets in a certain spot or in a certain park. They definitely do test these things, and this is one of the ways they do it. And I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, not in this 5 years.
Yeah.
But the next 5 years to fill out the upcoming decade, I wouldn't be surprised if this park does get a Zootopia. Zootopia is really a DCA kind of property.
I agree. And honestly, when they utilized that space where Nick and Judy was just at now for like the Lunar New Year, for like the Turning Red character meet and greets, they moved Nick and Judy over to Hollywoodland. And I thought that was quite interesting because I feel like they fit more in that environment. And as we were mentioning earlier, that just to say, if Pandora does not go in Hollywoodland and it's part of Disneyland Forward with the Simba lot, then could it potentially be Zootopia going into Hollywoodland?
Yep.
Because then you'd have the monorail. It would kind of fit. It has that kind of urban cityscape.
Exactly.
But there is another theory that I have about Zootopia, other than DCA, and it's actually, believe it or not, over at Disneyland. But we'll get to that a bit later, of where Zootopia might possibly fit over at Disneyland Park.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now here comes OG's favorite part of DCA.
Yeah, here we go. Pixar Pier. The lovely, beautiful Pixar Pier. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I personally have said many times on the channel, I would get rid of this area. I would build a waterfront harbor similar to that of Disney Sea over here instead. Obviously, that would cost a lot of money, but I think it'd be a better fit, in my opinion. Over here, though, with this whole back area with the Paradise Garden Grill and Goofy Sky School.
This for me is more unsightly than even the pier.
Oh, I agree with you. And this should all be bulldozed and made into a Mexican village. This is where they should put the Coco Dark Ride. We're gonna get to the Pixar. We're gonna get to Pixar Pier proper in a second, but I just think for Coco, such a beautiful dark ride, celebrating Mexican culture, you want to have that Mexican village as the lead up to that beautiful dark ride, and to have it crammed into the pier setting, I don't think does the justice. I know a lot of fans are going to disagree with me on that, because fans are going to say, well, you know what, OG? All the Pixar's over here in Pixar Pier, so therefore you need to have Coco. Well, all the Pixar isn't over here at Pixar Pier, because we just saw Monsters Incorporated over in Hollywood. We got a huge-ass Cars Land right over there.
We used to have a Bugs Land.
We used to have a Bugs Land. I mean, we have all this Pixar that's not in Pixar Pier, so they've already broken the rule. So I don't really care about abiding by a rule they've already broken like 2 and 3 times.
And aside from the theme changed from Mulholland Madness to the Goofy Sky School, everything in this area, Jumpin' Jellyfish, Golden Zephyr, oh, and also too, the Silly Symphony swings used to be Orange Stinger, but just from a slight retheme, this is basically DCA 1.0. This is one part of the park that really didn't change. And a lot of people can have the argument to say, okay, you're going to knock out 1, 2, 3, 4 rides for one ride. But that one ride
people eater
is a people eater, and it's going to be so big, so immersive, and DCA needs a family boat dark ride that it wouldn't matter if you got rid of 4 carnival-style amusement park generic rides.
Oh, I agree with you. And there is something to be said about like upholding the brand. And I think that when you get rid of a bunch of generic shit and you put in something more in line with the Disney brand, yes, maybe you're losing all those rides and you're only gaining 1, but you gain brand. It's like what Steve Jobs said. It's a brand deposit. Yes. It adds to the brand. It's not a brand withdrawal. So you benefit the park even if you lose 3 or 4 rides just for that one big one. That one big one has a bigger impact on guest optics, perceptions of this park than what we're looking at right now. This is not...
And it would fit the Coco Dark Ride would fit so much better over there because it's adjacent to Pixar Pier, which Coco is obviously Pixar.
Right.
But the ride value is not... It's not pure quality.
Exactly.
There's nothing that sets it aside with like the roller coaster and like the Ferris wheel. But of course to me, I feel like this is blasphemy in a way. I get it. They want to add something of a quality for younger kids and families, but to use a beautiful IP like Inside Out and just reskin Flick's Flyers.
Come on.
I mean...
we can do better, Disney. We can do better, Disney. This, like, Inside Out's a gorgeous franchise. I love the second movie. I thought it was amazing. But that was not it. That whirlwind thing is not it.
Yeah.
Now, the rumor is that this actually would be demolished for the Coco queue.
Right.
Is what we're hearing. And then the Coco ride would be behind the Incredicoaster. So I just don't think this is a proper setting. Even if you get rid of the emotional whirlwind, do you want to see all this crap before you go into an amazing dark ride?
And then you have the Incredicoaster, like you're walking...
Whirling up ahead. Do you want to see that? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. And I have to say, bro... The parks, especially right now at the time of this recording, is booming.
Yeah,
right now,
booming.
And this was one of my issues. So apparently, this is where the entrance would be at the Pixar promenade.
So this is where Coco.
Essentially, this is where the Coco. So I guess what Jack was saying is that they would have the queue over there by Emotional Whirlwind, and it would kind of intertwine into I guess,
This?
behind this. But the problem is they use this area for Pixar meet and greets. Now, also, too, midday, the pier, honestly, it gets a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
And as you can kind of see ahead of us, you can kind of see a little bit of cluster going back and forth from guests walking to and fro from the pier. So if that is just how we get loads of people coming in just walking, how are they going to intermix with a queue line for an immersive dark ride that Damaro did say it's on quality, on par with Pirates and Haunted Mansion?
Right.
So
you take essentially Disney's like most bare minimum themed areas with Pixar Pier. I mean, themed is even questionable because it's more decorated than themed, to be quite honest with you. But you know, but it's decorated. It's not really themed. So you take that lackluster land, and then you put one of DCA's most immersive attractions in there. I don't know. For me, it just seems a little jarring. I would rather them do it the right way. I'd rather, honestly, the Coco ride go into Hollywoodland. Build yourself a nice little Mexican village to the lead up of the ride, or build it over there where the Paradise Garden Grill is. This land right here is not it. I think the ride deserves more, in my opinion. Yeah. I know a lot of fans are going to disagree with that, but...
And as you said, this isn't your all-time favorite land.
No.
But if they are going to keep it, it is what it is. But yeah, to shoehorn an immersive Coco dark ride in here, I don't see it.
No,
I don't.
It just, it just doesn't fit, man.
Now, there is another unpopular opinion, more so from you, and I get why, but it does have to be mentioned.
What's that?
That the other possibility for where Coco might go is the Little Mermaid. And unfortunately, as I said, I love the Little Mermaid. Honestly, it's classic. But I'm thinking of like as a business standpoint for Disney, maybe not to get rid of Mermaid, but maybe kind of pull what they did at Disney's Animal Kingdom. They took the Festival of the Lion King and they moved it. And honestly, it's in a much better spot because it used to be at Camp Mini Mickey, and it's now in Africa. So if they were to kind of pull something like that off where they find a new location for the Little Mermaid, could they potentially put Coco in that building?
Yeah. I mean, they technically could. I mean, I think that I'm not, like, here's the thing. I'm not opposed to it going in that building. My issue with it is just because I think Little Mermaid as a franchise meant so much to Disney. And it meant a lot because I'm a big Howard Ashman guy. I love Howard Ashman. I think he's a genius. And we owe so much to Howard Ashman as Disney fans. You know, the world owes a lot to Howard Ashman as music fans, you know? Mm-hmm. And to take away an attraction that was so near and dear to his heart and such a big piece of the Disney legacy, it feels dirty to me, bro. I don't know. There's something wrong about it. And like, I don't mind. Look, if they get rid of it, and then we get like a proper mermaid attraction like in Fantasyland, I'm all good. But we got to find a new home for a mermaid thing.
Themed attraction.
It just meant so much to the Disney brand and everything. Like, how do you not have a mermaid attraction? I don't know. It's tough. That's my only issue. If it was themed if it was any other IP, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal for me. But a Little Mermaid's a tough one for me.
And especially, too, what made me even question this was when Disney teased for Coco coming to DCA, and it kind of showed Miguel's like feet with the blowing of the leaves, and it stopped right where you could see the pier in the backdrop, but it was right in front of the Little Mermaid building. So was that Disney saying that it's going into the pier because of the backdrop? Or was it saying that there's potential that it could go in the Little Mermaid building because Miguel was right in front of it?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, yeah, it can mean either one, really. It's tough. It's tough. We'll walk through some San Fransokyo. Now, this was a modest retheme, obviously. I mean, it didn't cost Disney a lot of money to do this, but I think it was a smart move.
And it paid off because, I mean, this was a dead zoned area. No one would go into the wharf.
No.
I mean, now you add Big Hero 6, add a Baymax meet and greet,
Oh yeah,
change
bro.
up some of the cuisine, and now look at it.
Yeah, bro. Like this. Look, it was already themed to like Northern California, so it was already halfway there. All I had to do was add the Japanese stuff, right? And you got San Fransokyo, and it's busier now than it's ever been. It's moving merch, it's moving food sales. It's hugely popular. I think it's a cute little addition to this park. I don't know. I got no issue with it. I know a lot of fans do. I love Japanese culture. I know this isn't technically like real true to Japanese culture necessarily, but it does have little glimpses of Japanese pop culture in here, which I really love. And
It has a little bit. It has a charm to it.
oh, absolutely.
You know, it definitely has like a nice hangout spot. If you're meeting up with your friends, if you want to grab some lunch, listen to some good music, like the vibe is really here.
The vibe is here, bro, and we love vibes here. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm a vibes over rides guy, for sure. I'm a vibes over rides guy. But we're gonna be entering in Cars Land now. The reason why I want to go through Cars Land is I want to put our friends in Florida, their minds at ease here. You
And,
think
and especially with an entrance like this.
That's why I'm here. Yep, bro. Because you know what? Y'all think, oh, cartoon cars, that's not going to look good. That's not a good replacement for the Rivers of America. Broski. Look at this. Look at this. Come on. This is gorgeous. I get it. Cartoon cars. I get it, bro. But if Disney can do this again in Florida, come on. You can't tell me this isn't on par with what Florida has right now with the Rivers of America. Honestly, even better, to be honest with you.
Well, and the technology for even the main centerpiece attraction is going to have newer, updated technology. Because it's not going to be like test track style Radiator Springs racers. It's basically going to be like off track kind of like cars, like going on the dirt path and stuff. And I think that's really cool.
Oh, I think it's awesome, bro.
And especially if they can keep the aesthetics tied in with like the newer Frontier theme and still give off that Cars scenic vibe.
Absolutely, bro. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is dope, dude. This is really, really cool stuff. Come on, Florida. This is what you're getting.
Yes. And honestly, too, it's very frustrating when you hear people complain about, oh, they're getting rid of the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island for Cars. And I get it. Cars wasn't really my first pick to go into Frontierland.
No.
But because I thought it was going to be a
clone.
But the new storyline, it's starting to kind of grow on me. And also, too, people praise this land.
Yep.
And those are the same people that are complaining about Cars going into Frontierland.
Because people have, Disney fans in general have a very difficult time with change, which is very ironic because Walt Disney didn't have a problem with change. I mean, he really didn't.
He didn't want a museum.
No. If you want a museum, go to the Getty. It's beautiful. Go to the Getty. It's great. It's out here in LA. You'll love it. Okay. but if you want a theme park and you want something in line with what Walt wanted, an ever-changing, constant, creative sandbox to play in, well, you know, that's what we have here. So you have to look. You have to kind of understand that as a Disney fan, that things change. That's why that's like the DNA of Disney parks. Walt made that very clear. It's not guesstimating. It's not assuming. He literally said it. It will never be complete as long as there's imagination left in the world. And when you add things and you invest in these parks, you're inevitably going to have things get removed or changed that you like. And it's just part of life. And we all just have to understand that. Believe me, it's happened to me too before, I'm not I'm not telling people you can't be upset when things go away. You absolutely can.
Just like how you were mentioning before, if they got rid of the Little Mermaid and put Coco in, it's
I'd
you'd be upset.
Yeah, I'd be upset, but I'm not gonna sit here and like, sit there and like, pound sand into for fucking 18 months,
Yeah.
like the Splash Mountain situation with some, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to like let it go at some point. Like, life is too short, man. I mean, it's like you're gonna make yourself sick over a theme park. Come on, dude. It's crazy. Now we're entering Avengers Campus.
Or as our good friend Bricky says, Avengers Hallway.
Yeah. Shout out to Hey Bricky. We love Hey Bricky. Hey Bricky in the house. Yeah, this is Avengers Hallway, everybody. Music blasting.
And I know a lot of people kind of find it monotonous, but I think that's the one thing that's appealing to me to the land is the music of how it's so big and so loud. Because that's what it is in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I love it. And this is actually where the e-ticket will be built, right behind this wall right here. So it'll kind of loom over. It'll kind of loom over all of this. We'll see how that looks. I was a little worried initially, actually, with this.
Right, because you had mentioned with the show building for Infinity Defense, how is it going to stack up to Mission Breakout?
You have a big show building right here. Is that going to mess up the force perspective of Mission Breakout and make it look less loomy? We want it to loom. And if you have a big box next to it, is that going to mess that up? I don't know. Hopefully the Imagineers have a solution to that. We'll see.
And then also, too, with Stark Flight Lab, which would be literally right next to Infinity Defense, I'm assuming it's going to be a part of the expansion area, but are they incorporating the Doctor Strange Mystic Arts area as far as like part of the queue for Stark Flight Lab, or is that staying as is?
That's a good question, Italiano. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Is this Doctor Strange show going to go away? Or are we going to keep this? I'm not really sure. Because, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, it's in the proximity of Stark Flight Lab, so it's a possibility that it does go away. So we'll see.
But very exciting things to come with DCA. I mean, we're just at the first half of this 10-year investment, and DCA is already going to be getting an expansion to Avengers Campus.
Yeah.
An immersive Coco dark ride, and Pandora. I mean, if that's what's in the first 5 years of the 10-year, and shout out to our good friend Drew, the Disney dude, like he was saying, like there's going to be even more coming as part of the 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, and we don't even know what that is.
No,
so,
we don't even know.
Like,
it's going to be nuts, bro. Like, this is crazy. I love it. I love DCA. This park has a lot of potential. I've always believed in this little park. Disney has dropped the ball on this park so many times. The one time they did good on it, though, I will say, was the DCA 2.0.
I agree with you.
Yeah, that was the one time that they really invested properly in this land. But other than that, a lot of times they kind of go half-ass a little bit on it. I want to see that this park become, it'll never be Disneyland, but get as close as you can to Disneyland. If it's gonna sit feet away from Walt's Park, this thing better be pretty dang incredible. And there's Spider-Man, everybody.
Shout out to Mr. Webber.
Yeah, shout out to our good friend Mr. Webber.
Yeah, I guess I should do some work.
Always good to have the data.
On my way. You need to find a clear path from some of the sleep room. Oh yeah, go time. Field testing, here I come.
Here we go, everybody. Mr. Webber.
Surprise, Spider-Man!
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Everybody, make sure you check out Webavision on the channel and Webshots hosted by the one and only Mr. Webber. Mr. Webber doing Webber things. And this right here, I want to show real quick.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To the one and only Stan Lee. I love that they did this, honoring the man behind Marvel.
Now, I do want to mention, too, because we're As far as like with DCA goes, we're kind of wrapping up the potential expansions.
Yeah.
And we'll be heading over to Disneyland soon. But I do want to mention something while we're here. So they started putting up the booths for food and wine. It didn't start yet at the time of this recording, but it will be soon. DCA only got a 10-day reprieve from the transition of ending Lunar New Year, moving into food and wine. And we just recently did a show on Orange Grove 55 mentioning this, because it's very telling that in the future of the Disneyland Resort, we're eventually going to get a third gate.
Yep.
And if Disney wanted to capitalize that, one of your choice picks was the Westcot. So that would be perfect, that if they're going to start adding more stuff into DCA, it's going to be kind of hard to kind of keep the way that the park is now by adding festivals and events like that with all this new stuff. So to have a park dedicated to events and festivals like that, that's like banging for your buck.
Oh, absolutely. That's why Westcot works perfectly here in California. You can have a park like Epcot out here with festivals all year long. You know, it's a moneymaker. Obviously, with that world showcase kind of park, obviously with the new direction of these theme parks, Universal included, it's all about IP. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah, you would throw the IP in there. Africa would get a Lion King ride. You would put Raya the Last Dragon, Mulan, Turning Red into Asia. Like, obviously that would be part of it. I know fans don't like that. I get it. But IP is where the company's going. Okay, that's just, we got to face the reality. You can't ignore reality. So that's what it is. So you can have all your IP in there. You can have all the continents, have your Westcot, and honestly, have your year-round festivals. I mean, the locals out here, we have a huge local fan base out here in California. I mean, you're talking Disney, you would have buckets and buckets of money if you did a Westcot Center. It would be absolutely crazy. So, yeah, they should definitely do it. But we'll see, man. But this kind of wraps up our DCA walk and talk. Now, one last thing, though, George.
Yep, I know what you're going for.
One last thing.
My notorious worst half.
Yeah, George killed the red car trolley. If you guys are first timers on the channel, George was out here complaining that the red car trolley was in his way when he was walking, and the next day Disney announced they were getting rid of it. George has that much pull over here at Disney. It is absolutely incredible. But here it is. It is actually now here. This is its resting place. Yeah, here it is. And so it'll stay parked here, which is cool.
Yeah.
If we don't get the kinetic energy, at least we get the visual energy. Look at that beautiful visual energy.
And I'm cool with that. I love how they still kind of kept the tradition of like keeping like of how the trolley is, and they can pay homage to it by having it here. So I'm cool with that. But I have to say, in one of the stores, when you pass by on Buena Vista Street, you could hear like the horn honking of the trolley and the bell ringing. Man, that gives me PTSD.
Yeah, it does. I bet it does. All right, everybody. DCA, walk and talk, potential expansions, Citrico Central. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button.
And definitely let us know what you think so far. Comment down below. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? What's your opinion? All we ask is just keep it civil.
Yeah.
But we are not done, folks. We are heading over to the one, the only Disneyland Park.
Disneyland. Here we go.